Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Dream Designs by Dee. Today we're going to be making a spring wreath with a big bow in the center instead of a sign. I have had a lot of requests for this tutorial, so today I'm going to give it to you. This is a custom order, so it's already spoken for, but if you like it, check out my shop. I have a few of this variety in there, and if you don't see one that you like, go ahead and message me for a custom order. This is a 15-inch work wreath frame. I get mine from all over. This one is probably from Craft Outlet, but you can get them at the Wreath shop, Trendy Tree. They come with all different colors of ties. I'm just going to use yellow because that's what I had. And my request is for pink and yellow, and I'm going to do the double ruffle method. I don't do this one very often, but I like it because it makes a very full wreath, which is what you need if you aren't going to put a sign on it. This is just from Hobby Lobby. It's a 10-yard basic pink with a little foil to it. I like the foil because it ruffles better. And this is just almost a full roll of basic yellow mesh. Nothing special about it. I use this roll for another project. When I'm not using my rolls, I store them in plastic grocery bags in my closet because mesh doesn't like to touch each other. So even though I only cut one off of it, it's still good as new. So let's get started. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut your first ruffle at 30 inches. And because I want this to have a little variety to it, I'm going to alternate the colors. So you also, when you're ruffling, you want to make sure that you fold your edges under because that will help keep the frays in check. All mesh is going to fray as soon as you cut it, but the less you mess with it and the more you protect that cut edge, the less it's going to happen to you. So I like to fold mine over, and I just do like right about an inch. Not a lot, just enough to protect that frayed edge. Okay, can you see? I just folded it over there. Okay, and then the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take it. You just want to line the edges up again because the folding sometimes takes it out of it. Okay, once you got it, I take the folded edge between my thumb and my forefinger, and then you're just gonna gather it. Some people call it walking, and I shove it back just to give it time to unroll because the more you gather, the harder that will be. And you just wanna grab it from time to time and make sure that it's still straight because it will tend to walk over to the side. Get it underneath. Then when you've got about 2 inches left, you go ahead and take it, fold it over again. I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes you do have to fight with it a little. And tuck it underneath in that last fold. Okay, so now you got your pretty little ruffle. You're gonna grab your frame. I like to start on the bottom. Some people start on the top. Doesn't really matter. And you're gonna stick it right in that tie. Okay, now a few things about putting a ruffle in a tie. The first thing is that you really, really, really want to make sure that you push it all the way to the bottom as hard as you can. And on this one, normally I would twist it, but I'm going to put something else in there. So I'm not going to do that yet. So there you go. Then you're going to take your pink. Open this up here. I don't know if anyone's going to want the number, but just in case you do, it's item number 1274794. Okay, so then you're going to take this one, and because it's a double ruffle, you're going to cut your next ruffle at 15 inches, okay? Right here. Use a rotary cutter. Make sure it's sharp. It'll help protect that edge again. You're going to do the same thing. Now this one has like a little defect. If I was doing another method, I would go ahead and cut this off. But since I'm going to fold it under anyway, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now you got your fold. See? It's kind of hard to see because the mesh is a little bit iridescent, but one of the reasons that I'm using the double ruffle method on this and not just alternating colors on the single method is because this mesh is so thin. If you just put it on a frame, you're going to be able to see the frame big time. I don't like that. So same thing, you're going to pinch it between your thumb and your forefinger here. Thumb, forefinger, pinch it, and then you're going to just push it towards you. And you can see how I work it back just to get that. Then you're going to gather it and you're going to do the same thing. Okay, you're going to fold and tuck. And here we go. So then you're going to come back in. Now I've also seen people do this. Well, actually here, you're going to tuck that in on top of your ruffle here. And then you're going to push all the way down, okay? Once it's all the way to the bottom, you're going to give it one good twist nice and tight. If you do too many twists, you're going to end up where your ribbon doesn't sit flat once you put it in. I'm just going to pull it over. Okay, now when you do ruffles, you have a choice. You can leave it at the top, this gap here. You can leave it at the top and the bottom. You can flip it to the side. I like to flip it to the side because it's less noticeable once the wreath gets finished, okay? And you're just gonna fluff out your ruffle. And then this one here, it's a shorter ruffle, so it's gonna be a little bit trickier. But once you get all the other ruffles in and the ribbon, it's gonna give you a nice full wreath. So once you got it the way you like it, okay, looks kind of like a pretty little flower. You're gonna do the same thing, but you're gonna alternate. So on this one, you're gonna take a 30-inch cut, same deal, cut your pink mesh at 30 inches, okay? Fold it over, and then fold it under. I know it's kind of hard to see here. There we go. Makes it easier to see, right? You're going to fold it under, line it up. I'm not the fastest, but kind of a perfectionist, so can't just, okay, here we go. Now you got that fold again, and you can see there's a few frays. It's okay, don't worry about it. You can just cut them off and keep it pushing. Just push it down again, give it a little pinch, and you're gonna roll and walk. I've seen a lot of people do, and see, once it starts to pull, you just want to flatten it out, just so that you can now you're gonna fold it under again, flip it. Now if it ends up a little bit quicker or a little bit crooked, that's okay. You can just move your fingers around until you find the center again. So now you're going to go on the tie right next to the yellow one, Here's the yellow one here. And you're gonna just pop it in. Shove it all the way down to the bottom. Now on this one, I'm gonna go ahead and fluff that out first, okay? Because once you start getting more in, you wanna make sure, and you also wanna go back and see in here where this little split is, right here. You want to fluff it out and get it in there so that you get a really nice looking ruffle, okay? And then once you got it, you're going to come back and you're going to cut this one at 15 inches. This also works well if you think you're not going to have enough of a certain color. Then you can ruffle it this way because you're not using, I always use 30-yard cuts on my ruffles unless I have a poof underneath or something, and that really helps you extend your color if you're not sure you're going to make it. We've all been there. Okay, so then you're going to do your fold again. And right here. There you go. Probably should have pre-cut this, but I wanted to show you all just because I get a lot of questions about this method. Okay, now you can see you've got it pinched. Okay, so you can undo that one pleat, flip it over, just give it a good crease on the side. If you have to pull it, you have to pull it. It's okay. Now, put it in there. The only thing about fluffing it first is that you have to do it the way the tie is facing, and that's not always super convenient. Okay, you're going to push it all the way to the bottom. And sometimes I'll even come underneath and push it, because pushing it in tight and turning it tight is what really gives your ruffles that stand-up staying power. If your ties are all floppy, your ruffles are never, ever going to stand up nice and pretty. They're going to look flat. Okay, see, so here we go. Double ruffle. We're going to go again, and as you start to fill it in, you can adjust your mesh to get the best coverage. And then once you put the bow in, and if you're using florals, it'll all press down on the mesh and it'll cover any bald spots. And if it doesn't, you can just adjust your mesh until it does. Wow, who knew that would be so hard to say? Okay, so my next one, I'm gonna do another 30-inch. We'll go faster after those. Helps if you have the blade out. Flip it over. Practice safety, put that blade in. Cannot count the number of times I've forgotten to do that and then cut myself. I most recently put it away with the blade out and then ended up cutting my finger very badly fishing around for something else in that bin. So safety first. Alright, so then got that, give it a good hard crease and you're off to the races. Here we go. Okay, and once it starts to get a little, it'll get funny because the mesh isn't stationary. A lot of people will place something on the end of their mesh. I don't know, that people use remotes, wire cutters, what have you. I'm gonna be honest and say that does not work for me. I can't pull it and make it work. It gets really ugly really fast. Nobody needs that. Okay. Push it down. We're going to turn it around. Okay, here we go. Get it in there with the pink. Okay. Now 15-inch. You guys, I am so excited for spring. We recently had to go back to the Midwest for a family emergency, and it was so cold. I am not equipped to live in the cold weather anymore. It was so cold. I am so excited for the warmer weather. And this wreath just makes me think of spring. Its permanent home is going to be in the Midwest, and she was just telling me she's going to put it out with her flowers. She doesn't even start planting her flowers until May, and I've already got sprouts and almost full plants in my vegetable garden. So I am lucky to live in a warmer climate right now. Okay. And I'm from a place where it's a lot colder, but the older I get, the less I want to live in it. We're gonna move soon, and told it snows a little bit where we're moving, and I am not for it, but we'll see how it goes. I told my husband I can't make promises. Okay, so we got that double ruffle, and again, one of the keys to getting it to stand up all the way is that pushing it all the way to the bottom of the tie. And you can see on here how close to the frame it is. You want it all the way down, touching the frame. It's not going to do you any good to have it sitting on this. Let me use one that you can see right here where the tie kind of bunches up right here. It's not going to do you any good to have it sitting on that. You're going to get, when it sits on there, it's going to droop like either back or forward, and nobody likes a floppy wreath. So push it all the way to the bottom so it sits up nice and strong. Okay, so now a 30-inch pink. All right, get your fold. Give it a good hard crease. And now away we go. Okay, so let me know in the comments what you guys have been working on. Are you guys still doing spring? Are you on to summer? I'm normally on to summer by now, but I'm a little bit behind because of that emergency, so it'll be what it'll be. I have summer in my shop, but I haven't had a chance to do anything new yet. And then I know a lot of people start Halloween all around this time. I'm not quite there yet. Soon though. Last year I started a little too late, and have a lot of leftovers, so there's a lesson learned on that. Okay. Get it nice and fluffed out, and you can see where as you keep going, they're gonna stand out together. Okay, so now it's a 15-inch yellow. Mesh is rolling on me. I really need to get like a workspace table. Our house just is not. Gotta work on some reorganizing, I think, just to get it to where I can have a little more space. The thing about having a business like this in your house is that it will 100% take over your house, and then the next thing you know, you're sleeping with wreaths on your bed and having to move them to sleep, and it gets wild real quick. Supplies everywhere. Okay. Push it all the way down and twist it until it's tight. And you'll be able to feel right away the difference on that between a loosey-goosey twist and a tight twist. I guarantee you'll be able to feel it right away. You can tell almost immediately whether your twist is tight or not. Okay. Now we need a 30-inch yellow. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any styles of wreaths or tutorials you'd like to see. I said in my last video that I'm looking to put a lot more tutorials together. So if you have a theme or something in particular that you're interested in seeing, you can't find it, you have questions about it, if I know the answer, then I am happy to do one for you. The only thing I will say is if it's something, I'm not a member of any private groups, but I have a few tutorials that I have paid to learn that skill. If it's something I paid for, I can't share it with you, but I can totally tell you where to find it, give you a good resource. So if there's something that you want to see, just let me know. I will do my best to put one together. I know I'm a little slow. I am trying my hardest. That family emergency really set me back a couple of weeks. We were gone a lot longer than I anticipated, and it was kind of emotional, so dealing with that just left me not really ready to get back to it. But I'm back now, and I am ready to rock and roll. So now we're going to cut that 15-inch pink. Cut it. All right. I'm also looking to do some lives. If you guys have a time that works for you, again, I mentioned this before, I do have really young kids. I do have to work around their deals, their schedules, but if there's a good time for you, excuse me, probably going to come on, I'm going to shoot for, in the coming months, once a week for a live. We'll see. Kids are getting out of school, and everyone has stuff going on. Okay, there's your tight turn. And then over here, you are going to have to keep fluffing it, guys. It's just the nature of the beast. As everything moves around, you're just going to have to keep fluffing it. Sometimes that's just how it goes. It's okay. Okay, we're about halfway done already. So now I got to make sure that I pay attention to what I'm doing and don't lose track while I'm talking, because believe it or not, that has been known to happen. Okay, 30-inch pink, here we go. If you guys feel like you got it, you can feel free to fast forward to the part where I start doing the ribbon. The mesh is not always the most exciting part. For me, it's just a base to create on, but it is important to do it right. If you have a floppy base, the rest of your design is gonna look not that great. I have a few wreaths hanging in my garage that I can tell I just did not do a good job for whatever reason, shoving them to the end of the tie or what have you. And you can really tell versus the other wreaths out there. It makes a huge difference. Okay. Push it all the way down. Okay, awesome. Now we need a 15-inch yellow. Give that a fold. Okay, here we go. Get that in there again, and it's important, it's especially important when you're gonna put two mesh in one tie, that you really get that to the bottom. I know I've said it like 15 times, and if you're tired of hearing me say it, you are more than welcome to fast forward, but the more bulk you add in that tie, the less tie you have, right? So if you let the tie, if you let that mesh sit on the top of the tie, you end up with a situation where you, when you put your ribbon in, you're going to be out of tie. And also, you're never going to get your ribbons to look nice. Never. Sometimes that mesh, it just wants to fight with you. Okay. Another thing, guys, I want to talk about is ribbons. So, sometimes people, they order a wreath from me, and they take it out of the box, and they hang it right on their door, and they love it, which is great. That's the goal, right? But you can tell that the ribbons got a little bit, maybe not beat up necessarily, but they shifted a little bit during their transit time to the Wreath's Forever home, okay? If you buy a wreath from me or anyone else and you want it to look its best, even if you're taking it out of storage after a long winter, fluff your ribbons. Fluff your ribbons. It is going to improve the look of your wreath 100 times. I am so grateful for every single one of you that thinks that my wreaths are beautiful as they arrive. But I guarantee you, they looked about 10 times better before I put them in the box. Transit is rough. And no matter how well you pack your wreaths, they do take a little bit of a beating. Sorry, we live on a street corner with a lot of paramedic activity, fire department activity. There's 2 fire stations on either end, and we get a lot of sirens, and it is very loud, and I apologize. Anyway, fluff your ribbons. Give them a little spruce, pull them out with your fingers, curl them under, and it is going to improve the look of your wreath 100 times. You are going to be so surprised. Okay, pushing it down. Give it a turn. Fluff it out. That one looks pretty good right there, so I'm going to leave it. Okay, next. Pink, we're almost all the way around the bottom here. Okay, one more thing I wanted to ask you guys about. Who is interested in maybe a bow and ribbon combo? If that's something you guys would like to see in my shop, let me know in the comments below. I hear a lot of times I can't make a bow, and the thing, I can sell you a bow, that's no problem, but the thing is, then if you're like me, you don't have the right ribbons and kind of goes downhill. I don't have the storage space to offer full wreath kits. I can't hold that much mesh or that many frames, but I can do bows and ribbons, especially when the ribbons are come on a larger roll. I can definitely split those up. If that's something that you guys would like to see, you'd be interested, you feel like it would be useful to you to have for your designs, let me know. I'm just looking for a few different things to add to my shop, things that you guys would like that would be useful to you. So again, if you have any suggestions, ideas, comments, let me know down below, and I'll see what I can do. Okay. Get that pink one all fluffed out. And 15 again. Do you watch one of these tutorials, your brain's it's gonna be burned in there, isn't it? Give it that nice, good crease. Here we go. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, although I probably should have, is that I am opening up that tie all the way to put the second ruffle in. You can try putting it on top without untwisting it, but in my experience, it's just gonna lead to your tie getting too full too quickly. And then by the time you want to put ribbon in, you're not gonna have the room to do that. So yeah, make sure I'm doing it all the way. You could also not be like me and undo all your ties first. You know why I don't do that, because then you're trying to hold the mesh and get it in the tie at one time, and that's all bad too. I've been told, mainly by my husband, that I'm stubborn, so maybe that has something to do with it. Okay, getting this together. And if your ruffle starts to move sideways, it's okay. You can move it back over. Nothing bad is gonna happen if you move it back over. Okay, get it up, get it under. Push it in. See if I can do this one-handed. And if they're uneven, you can just pull the mesh. You just release your fingers just a tiny bit so you don't rip a hole in it. Here we go. Push it all the way in. Push this down. Just give it a bit, and you can do that if you're worried about your hands. You can do that pretty easily. I have very weak hand strength, and I am still able to push it down. Okay, we're getting there. We are getting there. I know my camera's really zoomed in right now, so that didn't quite have the effect that I wanted. All right, 15 inches. Already, and this is gonna take the bulk of the 2 rolls, and then I'll show you what I do if I have extra, just a little bit extra mesh left. I will save it even if it's 1 or 2 cuts, because it can really excuse me, sometimes you just need that extra that extra little bit. But if it's just a little, like 15-inch piece, I have a trick for that too. Okay. Oh my goodness, they cut the grass today. Excuse me. And that is just the day when everybody gets the worst allergies, and we have high pollen in this area anyway, and the grass pollen's really high. Excuse me. There we go. Nothing in the world a long sip of coffee can't solve. Okay, another 30-inch one. Something that I probably should have explained. I'm getting better, guys. Sorry. Always forget. helps you add little details to my explanation and then remember later. I'm not used to talking about what I'm doing. I'm just used to doing it. So on the work wreath frame, they have 18 ties on the 15-inch frames, and a 15-inch frame will make a 24-inch wreath. And you're going to have 10 ties on the top and 8 ties on the bottom. And that's going to give you about a 24-inch wreath every time, regardless of the method you choose. Now your depth will change based on, like, this makes a really poofy wreath, and if you make a wreath using the poof method and then you add ruffles or rolls or the woodland ruffle, cruffles, some people call them, on top of it, your depth is going to change. It's going to get higher and fatter, but the diameter is going to be about the same regardless, and that's how they're designed. When you see them online to buy, they're going to be listed as a 15-inch work wreath frame, and then there's going to be a dash, and there's going to be a little 24, and that's going to tell you that the frame is 15 inches and it's going to make a 24-inch wreath. And then they have smaller ones, and when you click on those, for instance, you might find one, it's like an 8-inch wreath frame, and it's going to make you a 20-inch wreath or a 18-inch wreath. So pretty consistently, when you have that, it's gonna the diameter is going to be consistent. Where you're going to change it up is the depth. And just if you make wreaths to sell, just be aware that the wreaths ship by dimensional weight, because they're typically not that heavy, but the boxes are big, and where they'll get you is the depth. So like a 24 by 24 by 4 wreath, a really flat one like a pancake wreath, or one that's just a smaller bubble, it's gonna be a lot cheaper than one that's 10. Once you get into the 8 to 10 inches, that's where the shipping charges get really expensive. So a few things you want to try and keep. The ideal one is 6 inches. Mine are usually 8. I know I have to charge more. That's fine. That's my style. My customers are okay with it. But be aware. And before you quote somebody a price and say, yeah, I can do that, plug your numbers in. Plug it into your Etsy shop, your shipping, whether you use Parcel Path or Pirate Ship, whatever you do. Plug your numbers in along with their address and zip code first, because after you make the wreath and you get it all boxed up, you do not want to be surprised when you get to the post office and they're going to charge you $80 to ship it. It's not good for anybody, because either you have to go back and ask for more money for your customer, or you have to eat the cost, and neither of those scenarios are good. Check it out first, get an estimate, make sure you know the depth of the wreath, not just the width. If you plan on making it big and fluffy, charge for big and fluffy shipping. If you know it's going to be flatter, that's okay. But then once you do it, you have to stay within those parameters or you have to make adjustments. And shipping will get you. You can lose a lot of money really quickly on shipping. The very first wreath I ever shipped, I did not have my shipping profile set up correctly, and I ended up paying way more to ship it than I ever thought I would. And then after I did it, I realized that I had done it incorrectly the second time as well. And what I should have done, the way I should have done it, I would have only paid $7 instead of $20. So make sure your shipping profiles are correct as well. And if you ship on Marketplace, wherever, make sure you include those shipping charges in your price or add it on the end. Don't eat the shipping cost yourself, okay? All right, so now we've moved to the top. I have the yellow one in there. The key on the top, I always make sure that the slit is on the side, because I find with the ruffles that if you don't do that, your ruffle is gonna droop sadly down to the bottom, no matter how, because it doesn't have anything to support that split. And that's not what you want. That's not a good looking wreath. So I always make sure I flip the ruffle to the side so it has that extra support. And then not only are you going to pull up the sides on it, you're going to pull up the front so that all the mesh sits up nice and pretty. Okay, here we go. 15 inches here. And it is going to droop a little at first just because it's got all that fluff in the front to support it and not any of the fluff on the sides, but it'll get better as we go. Again, all the way to the bottom. If you need to go underneath and pinch it, and then give it a good twist, pull it up. Okay. Next, getting that 30-inch one going. Push it down, give it that pinch. And you're going to be able to see here in a minute when you start adding other ruffles in. Mesh is sticky, right? Anybody that's ever put mesh in a wreath will tell you it really likes to stick to itself. So when you put those other ruffles, make sure you pull them up and fluff them out. When you put those other ruffles in right here, it's going to help support the fold in that mesh, and it's going to keep you from having sad droopy ruffles. Next, getting close to the end of my roll here. I hope I make it. If I don't, I'm sure I have another one, but would not be the first time that that has happened to me. Okay. And one thing I really like about the mesh from the Craft Outlet, the Wreath Shop, Trendy Tree, is even the plain mesh is a lot thicker and it'll hold its shape better. I really don't like Hobby Lobby mesh, if we're being honest. It's really thin, and it works fine for some things, and there's some of them, they're natural or burlappy mesh. I love it. But the regular mesh, I'm not a huge fan of it. I will use it in a pinch. That's what happened with the pink. Also, I knew that I wanted a thinner, more sheer pink for this design, so that's why I went with that. But in general, it's not my go-to. And when you're doing something like this, you do really want to have a strong mesh just to help support those ruffles. Okay, you see? Yep, there we go. We're getting there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ties left. That might be stretching it. Okay, so now I gotta do the 30-inch yellow. Sorry, y'all. I'm sure you can hear my husband talking in the background. He's playing video games. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but our house is so small and awkwardly designed. Just, there's nowhere good for him to go because my kids are taking a nap, so he can't go upstairs because it disturbs them, and he can't stay down here because I'm filming, and same reason I can't go upstairs is because my talking during filming will disturb my kids, and we all know if you've had kids, you don't mess with nap time. Not willing to risk that for any reason. Nothing, not even a YouTube tutorial. We don't have a basement, and our garage is too dark and too hot. I mean, I could put lights in there, but it's too hot to be in there in this weather. And we can't make improvements to it because the military owns our house and not us. So we are working with what we got, but I apologize for the background noise. And you're just going to fluff this out till the ruffles pull it in. There we go. You want to push that down forward too. It'll look, it always improves once you get the second one on, and there we go. You kind of, when you're fluffing your ruffles, you kind of want to use the mesh to fill in any gaps, right? So if you see like in between a ruffle on top, there's a gap between the top and the bottom, you can use one of the folds of the ruffle to sort of account for that and change it and make it fill it in so it's not so obvious. There you go. Getting that pinch in. And if you're wondering what I'm doing down here when I'm doing this, I'm just checking to see if the ends are even. It's just my way before I stick it in of making sure that I did a good job with the ruffle, sort of a double check. And that would be the time for me to adjust the finger placement where the center of the ruffle is. Because once it gets in the wreath, it's always a little bit harder to do it. Give it a good turn. Okay, pull it up and see once you start getting it in there and pulling it up, and if you have any ruffles that are doing the sad dance, you can adjust them to the side, or if they, and you can see where it's fraying a little bit, that's okay, we're going to cut it off. You can adjust them to the side, and then I have a trick for the center when we're done here anyway, so we can take care of that easily. Okay, next we got pink again. We are getting there, y'all. Getting there. Okay. And on this one you can see it doesn't want to roll evenly, so I'm just using my hand to pull it down. Now this motion definitely takes some practice, definitely, but it's not hard, it just takes practice. And I will tell you, adding to my list of things, my first attempt at ruffles was disastrous, and I didn't do them for a long time because they were so ugly. But there's actually Lori from Hardworking Mom, who I watched enough of her tutorials where eventually I was actually able to do one, and it really, the practice and the motion of it really, once you get it, you have it. It does take a while to get there. It's kind of like bow making, and I just avoided it for the longest time because I was terrible at it. And then one day it all just clicked. So this the end result of all of that chatter was that you can do it too. But it does take practice, and I think there's this perception out there that the people who are good at certain elements of design got there magically, and it's not true. Like, I'm just gonna give you an example. Bows. Everybody says, oh, I can't make a bow, I can't make a bow. I promise you, you can make a bow. If I can make a bow, you can make a bow. I have no special training. All the information that I use to learn how to make bows is available to you. I did not pay for any bow tutorials. I did not learn anything about bows in a private group. What I did do is find some people that made bows that I liked, and I watched them make them. over and over and over again. And my first couple bows, first 50 bows, maybe even 100 bows were ugly. I mean, they were bad. And then one day, I made one that wasn't ugly and wasn't bad. And that was it. But it took a lot of practice, and I have a whole box in my garage called the Ugly Bow Collection, and it is a little box of horrors. Let me tell you, there is stuff in there that if you saw it, you would either laugh or cry, or maybe both, because it's so bad. But I got it, and it's frustrating, and it takes hard work, and the first 100 are really, really bad. And then that 101st one, it's magic. All right, almost done here. Still 4 more to go. So I needed another roll of mesh. And let's see, 30 inches of the yellow. Gonna go pretty quick on the last one because I think you guys have the idea now. And that one I just folded over a little bit extra just because it had a defect in the mesh, which I could have cut off but didn't. Okay. Bring it back. That in there. Pinch it down. So remember that at this point, it's just holding the mesh in there. It's not tied tight yet. Anything, it's just sort of holding it in there while we cut the rest of it. I'm concerned, even though the pink said 10 yards, I might not get enough. Ordinarily, I would just sub some paint in, but on a wreath like this where you're going to see a lot more of the mesh, I don't know if I'm going to want to do that because I don't want to make it obvious that the mesh is different. If I'm making a wreath where I'm going to cover it with a lot of embellishments, bows, and the bow's going to be on the side with a sign, you can always cover it up, substitute it, whatever you want to do. But when you're making a wreath where there's a little more mesh to it, you are definitely going to want to make sure that it matches so that you have a consistent product at the end. One thing I wanted to talk about, most people cut all their mesh at one time and then they put it all in, and that is definitely faster. The only reason that I don't do it that way is because I have really young kids and I never know how long I'm going to get at any given time to work on a project. And when I do it that way, if I get called away or whatever, the mesh has a tendency to not make it. So I just keep it on the roll until I actually put it in the wreath. But certainly, I recommend that if you are not worried about small children, if you are not worried, if you're able to sit down and do your project all at once, basically is what I'm saying, then I would not do it this way, because it's time consuming, and as my kiddo would say, it's pain in the hoot. So I would definitely recommend, also then you don't have what's going to happen to me happen, where you get almost all done and realize that you don't have enough. Sorry guys, I'm not super used to filming, so suspect there's a few spots where the camera angle might not be the best, but I'm getting better, I promise. I'm also trying to work on a more consistent workspace situation where I can do this and you can have a little bit better acoustics and sound and all that good stuff. Then I could show my face too, which would be pretty exciting instead of working in various places around my house. Pushing that all the way down, tying it really tight, and yes, you are probably going to smush your other ruffle. When you do it, it'll be okay. Just go back, give it a fluff. Make sure everyone's nice and pulled out. We're gonna get really close here because we got those two left. Okay guys, I'm gonna adjust the camera angle here. I'm really sorry, that might be an uncomfortable ride. Yeah. Anyway. Alright, now 30. I always hate when people have to do that on YouTube because it always gives me terrible motion sickness. So I'm sorry if that happened to you too. Okay, getting our last 30-inch ruffle, evening it up there. Okay. now the pink, push it down, turn it. The pink is just, ooh, it is a fraying, but that's okay. We can fix that. All right, getting that in there. All right, now I have this last little bit. It is not quite, I'm gonna stick it in there anyway. I may go back later and add it. It's just gonna be a little bitty. And again, if the bow is going in the center or whatever, oh, I don't know if that's gonna make it. I think we're gonna save that for something else. Okay, so I'm actually going to do two short. That's okay. We'll make the rest of the wreath and then I will add the mesh in afterwards. Yep, that's just what I'm going to have to do. There's no other choice. All right, so after you get that done, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a couple of pipe cleaners. You actually need 4. Okay, so these are just plain pipe cleaners. I'm sure they're from Amazon or Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Go ahead and cross them a little bit like this. And you're gonna just twist them together. And then you're gonna do the same thing for this one. And the reason you're doing this is just to get a little extra length on your pipe cleaners. Make sure those sharp ends are twisted in really well because you do not want those to come back and get you. Then you're going to take your nice pretty wreath that you had enough deco mesh to finish, unlike me, and right here where the crossbar is, you're going to take one of these pipe cleaners and you're going to go right through under the mesh, around the crossbar, and you're going to twist it really tight. Once you get it on there, actually twist the pipe cleaner to the frame. Don't just twist the tail. Then you're going to go across to the other crossbar right here. Okay, you're going to go under the bar. You're going to put some tension on it. You're going to go underneath and around this crossbar too. Again, you want to put some tension on it so it's nice and taut here in the center. Okay? I like to go a few times. You don't have to get crazy, but you don't want it to come loose either. Okay. And then once you've got that, we're going to clip it off in just a second. Okay, then you're going to do the same thing. You can either use this one or this one. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to go around the crossbar. And I'm going to twist it really well. And then Make sure that the sharp end of the pipe cleaner is tucked underneath because you do not want that to scratch your customer's door. You're going to spin it around right here. You're going to do the same thing. Now the reason we're doing this is just something that's going to attach mesh so we can fill in that center hole and give our bow something to sit on. If you ever wondered how to prevent something from sinking in to your mesh, it's a good way to do it. And I just try to pick pipe cleaners in a coordinating color. Don't get too hung up on it. You're not going to be able to see it when you're done anyway. Then I take my wire cutters. I have some other ones, but I can't find them right now. These are Cobalt. They're from Lowe's or Home Depot, one of those. They cut everything really well. Cut it off and save this little piece right here. Same thing here. Cut it off. Tuck your pipe cleaner around the back. Same thing. Okay, now, all of those little pieces of mesh that you had before, at the end of your roll, this is what you're going to use them for, okay? See, I have this little piece of yellow here. Just pull it off. Take the staples out. Okay, so you have a little piece like this, right? It's kind of hard to see, especially against the wreath, but then you're going to take this, and it literally does not matter how pretty it looks because it's only going to be a little bitty piece. You're going to make a little tiny ruffle. Just ruffle it as best you can. Take your little half of a pipe cleaner, stick it in around the middle, press it down, fold it up, pinch it closed on the bottom, and give it a twist, okay? So you're gonna have something that looks like this. I'm gonna do the same thing with this pink one. I'm gonna use this pink because it's nice and thick. I might use the other pink too. Again, you wanna take the staples out. Also, I don't like to throw anything out, can you tell? Also, I highly recommend that you save these tubes right here. They're really thick cardboard, and you can cut them to the height of your box, tape them to the corners upright like this, and it'll help keep your box from crushing when you ship your wreaths. Do not use paper towel holders. It has to be the mesh holder. The paper towel holders do not work. Believe me when I say I have little boys, they crush everything, and they will prove to you that they do not work and a box can crush. Same deal, ruffle, turn. You're just going to twist that until it's tight. Okay, so now you have this kind of, that happened. Okay, now you have this kind of like ruffle, bow tie, ugly little mesh thing. So you're going to come back in, and I probably will do the second one. I like to start on the X, so I'm going to take my little yellow bow tie here, and where this X is, I'm going to put it in right here. Now, if you're going to make a wreath where the center is exposed, you want to use one continuous piece of mesh, okay? But because we're not going to expose the center of our wreath, I'm totally okay with being able to use up my little pieces. Now take your little pink piece and put it on this pipe cleaner here. You don't have to get crazy about it or anything. You're just looking to fill in some of the gaps so that the bow that we put in the center doesn't sink down to the edge. So you want it to sit on this little piece right here. That's the idea. Okay. Now I'm actually going to cut But I'm actually going to cut this piece off right here, and I'm going to use it to do the other pink piece because you really don't need that much. And we're going to trim off all those pieces in just a second. Okay. So now I have this last little piece of pink mesh. Same thing. I'm just going to ruffle it up. Put it on, twist it really good, and now I'm going to go on the other side of the yellow, and put that in. Right on the pipe cleaner. Okay, so then you kind of have this little mesh ruffle tube thing in the middle, and it'll also help you raise up your center ruffles, and then your mesh is going to sit really nicely right here. I know we're getting a little bit of a glare. I'm going to try and go around it. Okay, so next we have ribbons. So I chose 4 ribbons. I have a pink, a yellow, pink and yellow plaid, and a tulip. And on this one I used 2 1.5-inch ribbons and 2 2.5-inch ribbons. Okay, so when I cut my ribbons, all of these ribbons are from Sam's, and they all came on a 50-yard roll. When I cut my ribbon, I use a perfect tail. This one is 12 inches. All my ribbons in this wreath are cut at 12 inches. This is from Burlap Boutique. I like them because they're solid wood. The ribbon slides on and off really easily. They're durable and they have a nice finish. I just take the roll, grab it, set it right on the top here. I'm going to try to move out of that glare. Set it right on the top here and wrap it around. Okay? So, and then once you get it, you slide it off and you just cut it along the fold right here. Okay, each ribbon, I have 9 of each ribbon, and I went ahead and dovetailed the ends. I saved one just to show you how, in case you've never done it before. So you have your ribbon right here, okay, 12 inches. You're going to take it and you're going to fold it in half so that the wired edges are together. You're going to turn the wire edge away from you right here, and then you're going to snip upwards towards the wire. It's going to give you the nice little dovetailed edge, okay? You're going to do the second thing here. Same deal, fold it towards you, cut right up. Okay, and there you go. So I think I'm going to do alternating colors here. So I think I'm gonna do the yellow with the plaid and the pink with the tulips. So I take my ribbon here, all right? You're gonna fold it in half. Make sure the ends match, nice and neat. Do the same thing with your 1.5. Put one inside the other here. Okay, you're gonna pinch it down the center where you folded. You wanna make sure you get a good crease so you can see it, all right? Once you've pinched it, you're gonna use your hand to fix, just run it down the ribbon till it's nice and straight. Now, if you wanna make your ribbons an X, you leave them like this, okay? If you want them to face towards you, you wanna bend that ribbon towards you while you're flexing it so that it looks like bow tails, okay? Everybody see that? You're gonna bend it towards you. Now, because this is an alternating color wreath, I am gonna do this one where the pink ruffle is on top right here, and I'm gonna use the tulips where the yellow ruffle is on top, okay? Gotta give it that contrast. And you're just gonna shove the ribbon inside the tie. I'll do one where you can see it here. And you're gonna give it a good turn 3 times. Now, I like to pull my ribbon forward. You may not like to pull your ribbon forward. You may want to pull them in an X. That's fine. I like to pull mine forward. That's the look I like. Do what you like. Okay. So now we have our tulip ribbon. We're going to fold it in half. Pink ribbon. This, I'm just going to smooth out with my fingers because it's got a little bend in it. Fold it in half. Stick them together. Pinch the fold. And fold it down and forward. Now, when you do this, you're basically just shaping your ribbon. That's the only reason you're flattening it like that. That's also here. I'll show you right here. Right here. You're gonna put it right in the top here. Push it down, turn it 3 good times. And then I just do a quick measurement just to see if my ribbon's even. If it's not, you can pull on it a little bit. Just be careful. With ribbon like this, it's totally okay to pull on it. It's not a problem. But if you have a ribbon where it's like 2 patterns connected in the middle, or it's got a visible seam on it, don't pull on it like that because it'll rip your ribbon and you'll be sad. Have to start all over. Okay, then it's gonna look like that. All right, and now you're gonna keep going. You're gonna do it on all 18 ties. So the thing about ribbon is that when you're picking it, or you're wanting to decide which tie to do it in or what have you, I like to pick contrasting colors. So this ribbon with the tulips has a lot of pink in it. I put a pink ribbon with it. So I don't want to do it on the pink ruffle because it's not going to pop out. Whereas if I do it on the yellow ruffle, it's going to pop out. You're going to see it more. So that's just a little tip. If you do it where it blends too much, your wreath isn't going to have that pop. When you look at wreaths and you're wondering, how in the world did they make those colors work together, or how did they get that pop? That's one of the ways. You want to put it in a contrasting but coordinating one. And if you have a ribbon with a pattern on it, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the way that your pattern goes, and that you do it in the same direction every time, because if you don't, it's going to be very noticeable, and it's going to give your wreath sort of a shabby look. For instance, even on something like this, it's got a thinner plaid on the top and a thicker plaid on the bottom. So in the first tie, my thicker plaid was in the bottom on my right. So I want to make sure that I keep the thicker plaid in that direction. Otherwise, it's going to be a sad day. Once my wreath is done, it won't have that consistent, clean overall look, and that's really what I like. It's just gives a better product and presentation. That's what we want, right? And then also when you're putting your ribbons in, this is your opportunity again to shove it all the way to the bottom of the tie. You're going to make sure that it's in there really tight. You're going to tie it 3 times, give it 3 turns, and you're going to push it in, and that's going to help those ribbons stand out. When you don't do that, that's how you get recipe for more sad wreaths. Nobody likes a sad wreath. Okay. And it also helps keep your mesh from kind of folding under itself, which again gives you that sad wreath presentation that nobody likes. And when you're pairing your ribbons together, it's sort of this, it's the same deal. You want to do something that's coordinating but also contrasting. So you want everything to coordinate, but you don't want anything to be too similar, because then everything's going to blend together and you're not going to see each piece individually or as part of a whole. And for those of you who have asked me how I pick my colors or how I decide, I just line them up. I have walls and walls of ribbon in my garage, and sometimes I cut some and put them on, and I decide, you know what, I really don't like the way that looks, and I will go back and get a new one and try it again. And sometimes I do have to try 3 or 4 times, and sometimes the ribbon I originally picked is not the ribbon I end up with. And a lot of wreath making for me is trial and error. I wish that I could be like some of those other ones you see, they just go for it. It's not me. Also, I'm really indecisive, so that doesn't help. Okay, and we're still doing that thick plaid on the bottom corner, and the same thing with the tulips. On the right hand side, all of the tulips are down, and that just helps give consistency across your product. Now, let's talk about decorating this wreath. So we're going to put a big bow in the center. We already talked about that. And we're going to add, I think that's really going to be it. The customer, normally I would add some tulips or some greenery. she's gonna hang it outside, so I'm not, she didn't want any of those things. I will say, if you have a customer that you know is gonna hang outside, I am gonna spray this one with a Krylon spray. I normally don't spray my wreaths because you don't want your wreaths to last forever. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but if your wreaths last 10 years, your customers aren't going to come back. You do want them to last a little bit, but not forever. And really, they're not meant to last forever. The sun is going to fade them. The wind is going to take a toll. Even if you have a totally covered and protected porch, they're still not going to last forever. But if I have a customer that I know for sure is going to be hanging it out in an unprotected area, I'm going to help them keep it nice for a little longer, and I'm going to help them by spraying it with an outdoor spray. Sometimes I use Scotchgard, sometimes I use Krylon. It just depends on what is available. And truthfully, in my area, there's not a lot of choice. I don't live in a rural area or anything. I just don't live in a place where they have all the supplies that I'm used to, which is weird because I live in a bigger city. I don't live in the country or anything, but it is what it is. Okay, still folding. The ribbon part is kind of monotonous, although my least favorite part of making a wreath is dovetailing ribbons. Just don't like it. If I could invent a machine to do it for me, that would be my ideal scenario. It really would. Okay. Shoving it all the way to the back of the tie. And again, don't be afraid to reach underneath and push in. You're gonna get that tight. That's also gonna help your ribbon have that stand up, pretty look that you're looking for. You don't want floppy mesh, you don't want floppy ribbons. None of that is good. One good thing about the perfect tails that I wanted to mention, if you don't buy a perfect tail, that's fine. They are kind of expensive, although I will say I've had mine for 5 years now. They're still going strong. Don't use something soft like cardboard, or I know a lot of people use cardboard or started off using cardboard. The reason you use something like that is so that all of your ribbon is exactly the same size, right? And cardboard has a tendency to bend. It's flexible, so it's not the best material for something like that. Use something hard, and also don't overload it. Even though you can, just because you can cut 12 or 15 ribbons at a time doesn't mean you should. I highly recommend stopping after about 9 or so, just because if you don't, your ribbon gets progressively fatter because there's more on your tail, and then your measurements will be off, and once you get to the last one, it'll be pretty noticeable because your ribbons are going to be different lengths in your wreath. turn it 3 times, not only you turn it till it's really tight, not only are you getting your ribbon in there and everything, you're making sure that stays, you're really pushing it to the back and making sure that it has a good presentation. Can't say that enough. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but as I said before, I have so many floppy wreaths in the garage because before I learned that trick, I just didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. At least that's what my mother always says. Make your ribbons all nice, and away we go. Give it those good twists. Can't remember if I asked this or not, so if I did, forgive me. Let me know in the comments below what you guys are working on. I'm curious to see where everybody's at. Are you guys already on Halloween and fall? Are you summer? You still spring? I think I might have asked that already. I can't remember. I really can't. I wish I could, but just can't remember. I'm also curious if you guys do craft fairs, if you sell. If it's a hobby, do you give them away? Do you just make them for your own front door? I always try to make sure that I give some to my kiddos' teachers for their classrooms. Get they do such a great job, and their classrooms are so cute. And I love decorating, so keep my tree up all year. I'm that person. I think it might drive my husband a little crazy, but I like it, so that's okay. He puts up with me. Makes my kids happy too. Alright, so we're pinching, we're working our way around. Once again, we got that nice, beautiful bend. Working the kinks out, pulling it forward. Okay, so it's gonna go in here. Right here. All the way to the bottom, and you can see how much twisting this, how big a difference it'll make, because now it's got that sometimes I get started doing something and I think, what the heck was I doing? This is one of those moments. Okay. All the way to the bottom. Give it that good, and it's important that you twist. Can you see that I'm twisting the actual tie itself. I'm not just wrapping it around the ribbon. You twist the whole thing together, okay? All right, and matching it up, you can see right there, it's a little, and you can still pull on it even though it's pretty tight. And that's gonna help you. Those even ribbons are really gonna add to your finished product. Okay. Over here. All right, and again, throughout, I've made sure that the thick stripe on this ribbon, the thick stripe is on the right, and that all of the tulips are facing the same direction. Doing it backwards, that happens to me a lot too. All right. Getting that ribbon in there. Okay. And here it's gonna try and move, so it probably is not far down enough. You're gonna take it, twist, twist. Just want to pull them to the side. Again, keeping it consistent so that in every tie that you have yellow, the yellow one's in the middle. You can alternate them too. You just don't want to do it randomly. And then back to the tulips. Did this whole wreath, and I'm thinking maybe I should have put yellow there. I'm not sure. Okay, then I am gonna have 2 ribbons left. That's just because I still need to put the finishing touches on the mesh in that tie. And then it'll be done. Twist, twist, twist. Okay, measure, you can see already it needs a little pull. And then we're here. All right. And like I said before, we are going to pass on doing these 2 right here. I'll put the ribbon in after I get the correct amount of mesh, and I totally miscounted, so I have extra ribbon. That happens almost every time. Okay, let's do a bow, and then we'll be done. Guys, so when I do a center bow, I like to use the Pro Bow the hand. This is the large model, and it depends on the size of the wreath what size bow I do. So the longest peg goes here. That's called the boyfriend peg. It's kind of like a helping hand, okay? I think on this one, I'm gonna do C. Sometimes I do D, but the loops are really big and floppy. So I'm gonna do this right here. Okay, so when you set this up, you want to choose your size. Each one of these is about a ½ inch down from the other one, okay? And then you want to take some floral wire. I always use green floral wire. This is 22 gauge floral wire. It is from Joann's, just because I was there yesterday. I use a lot of extra wire because when you have a bow in the center, you need the extra wire to keep it from, to make sure you can make it even on all sides. So I like to go about 4 inches on each side of the board. Then I use my wire cutters to snip it off. And here is the wire. The item number is 522201J. And again, that's 22 gauge floral wire. So once you have your piece of floral wire, I take the second one, and I just match it up with the paddle, okay? And I cut that too. All right, so then you're gonna fold them both in half, right here. Just like that. Okay, get that nice fold. Then do the same thing with this one, okay? One of them is gonna hold your first piece of ribbon, and the other one is for wrapping around, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. I am gonna go get my ribbon holder. I don't usually use it, but I'm gonna get it this time so I don't have to fight with this while I show you. So give me just a second and I'll be right back. All right, so this is a ribbon holder. It came with my Pro Bow the hand. I don't usually use it very often, but does sort of help keep your ribbon organized. So we're gonna go ahead and do it. People ask me a lot, if you don't have a Pro Bow the hand, can you still make a bow like this? Absolutely you can. You can make it with the Easy Bow, you can make it with the Bow Dabra, you can make it with whatever you want. I cannot use a Bow Dabra to save my life, so I am not going to show you that method, but one day we will make a bow like this with the Easy Bow Maker. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna pull out your ribbon. When I do a bow for a center of the wreath, I make my tails the same length as my pegs, just about. That's how I measure it. And one of the secrets to normally when you make a bow, you work back to front. Okay, on the Pro Bow, you're gonna work front to back. All right, so I am gonna start with pink. All right, So I'm going to take it and I'm going to measure my tail from this center peg to this peg over here, because that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to pinch it in the middle, get a good pinch there, and then I'm going to take one of my wires and I'm going to shove it around, okay? Once that's in there, you're going to take it, pull it tight, and twist it one good time. Be really careful you don't poke yourself with the wire. Okay, then you're going to put your tail up here. You're going to place the piece of wire behind the peg, right like this, okay, on the pro bow. And then you're going to wrap this around this middle peg here. Okay, now as you build your bow, this wire is going to sink down, so make sure you start kind of high. Then you're going to take your second wire and you're going to go around the nail at the front of the peg in the pro bow. One time is good, and then stick the rest of it underneath. Okay? Now you want to straighten this out and you're ready to rock and roll. So you're going to take your ribbon, wrap it around the first peg here, and you can see how it's turning here. That's why I'm using this. Again, I don't always, but today I'm going to use it. So then you're going to pinch at the peg and you're going to twist. Now, one of the secrets of the pro bow is having enough ribbon pulled out. If you don't do that, you're going to be fighting with your ribbon all day long. So then you're going to go up to the second peg and you're going to wrap it around just like you did here. Okay? You're going to come back to the center. You're going to pinch and twist. You're going to grab your other wire, okay, with the bend, and you're going to take it and you're going to set it right between here, okay? I'm going to put it right in there. Now the secret here, one of many, is to catch this center wire with it, okay? So I might have to go in the other side here. Nothing like fighting with your wire during a tutorial. Okay, there we go. You want to make sure, you really want to make sure that you catch that center wire, okay? Because that is what is going to hold your bow together. All right. So once you've got, and one of the wires is on top, the other wire is underneath the ribbon, and it's got the wire from the center peg and the tail of the ribbon all inside of it, okay? You're going to take it, pull it tight, and twist it. One up, one down. That is going to hold your ribbon in place while you make your bow, okay? Now you can do this any way that you want. I'm going to start with 2 ribbons on the front, and I want to do 2 loops. So I'm going to move that loop to the center, pull that out, and I'm going to take it around again, and then I'm going to pinch it, I'm going to twist the wire, turn it, and then you can twist your ribbon, okay? Next, I'm going to take this off. If it's too tight, just take the peg out. You're going to pull the ribbon, and you're twisting it so the pretty side is out. If you don't twist, the back side of your ribbon where the wire is going to be in there, and that's going to be no good for anybody. Okay, and then you're going to twist it again. You can do as many of those as you want. I like to also push it flat against the post, and then you're done. So then again, because we're measuring ours about even with the pegs, I'm going to cut it off right here. Okay, I'm done with the pink for now, I think. So then I'm going to take, next I'm going to do the plaid. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the tail about even. I'm going to pinch it. And I'm going to put the wire right around it, okay? And I'm going to twist it, and now I can feel free to move about the crowbow, okay? So now I've got that on there, and I'm just going to do one loop of that. Twist it, and then here you're going to twist that again. And twist it again. Push it flat, and the reason I'm doing that, I'm just reducing the bulk that's going to be in the center of the bow at the end. And cut it off. Okay. Next, I'm going to do some yellow. And I'm going to do one, loop of the, I might do 2 loops of the yellow here. I think this is the only time I'm going to use it. So I'm going to do 2 loops of the yellow. Pinch and twist. You don't have to tie it every time either. You can skip one, but I just... Okay, so then instead of turning that into a tail, we're just going to turn it into another loop. And now I'm on peg 3R. 3 is for right. These are conveniently located, or conveniently labeled left and right. I know, I'm just sliding around here. Give it a twist. Take this one off, and you can see maybe a little bit right here didn't get twisted all the way. That's fine. You can just break that right out of the twist. Give it a pop here. And we're good. Then we're going to cut it off, push it in, and then we're done with the yellows. So now I'm gonna take pretty tulip ribbon, and I'm gonna put this next to that. We're gonna use that as the benchmark. Cover it, pinch it, okay? Put it down. It's coming up there. Okay, wrap it around the peg. Now, I like to pull my ribbon really tight. You don't have, well, you should. I pull it tightly around. Helps keep everything in place. Push this out. And you can see right here, it's gonna, but that's okay. It's all okay. You can fix it, no problem. So now I got 2 here. I'm gonna turn it, and we're at the tail. If there's any point where you feel like it's not tight enough, just push it down and pull, okay? It's trying to get away from me. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to doing the pink. And sometimes after I do a wreath, I'll add some other colors in. I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm just gonna alternate a little bit. Okay, so here's one. It's a little too long. Slide it back. Again, we're using, and I'm just estimating because you can always cut it off. Sometimes I like tails that have a little length to them, sometimes they don't, but the only way to tell is to leave them long. It's a conundrum. Okay, pushing that in, tying it tight, wrapping around the pole, and every time you do this, your wire's going to go one up and one down, okay? Pull it tight, and then right here, same deal, twist. Here we go. Pinch and twist. Okay, pushing it tight up against the pole. Now here, I want to do 2 loops of this. Twisted. Sometimes I can't tell. And pull it. Okay, is that 2? Yep. It's the end of the day, guys. My accounting is getting spotty. Pull that off. Pinch. Again. It's gonna help you hold it tight. And one of the things with the Pro Bow, you really want to take your time, okay? If you get in a hurry, your bow, it's not gonna be what you want. I can guarantee it. All right, so here we go. We're cutting that off, and again, we're measuring it against the peg that we use that ribbon on, okay? Can you see? All right, so now we got one more ribbon to go, and when I do mine, I like to do 2 ribbons on the bottom just because I think it provides a really nice base. All right. Just measure it out. The 2 loops give the bow something nice to sit up on. Sometimes I do 3. It just depends on the style of bow, but with this bow I like to do 2. Gives you a nice one up, one down. Nice big poofy bow. And since the bow is the centerpiece of this wreath, you really want to make sure that you have a good one, okay? All right, so then here, you're gonna pinch, and this is kind of the same as the mesh. You want to push it to the center because if you don't, you're just going to get a lot of bulk and flop. And neither of those things are good for a bow. Okay, here we go. Pinch it good. Push it in, turn, one up, one down. Now here, just gonna put it in there, put it in between, turn, and I'm gonna do my final loop here, pull it across. Okay, give it a good hard twist. At the end it gets harder, really does. All right, last one. I think that is gonna be a big, beautiful bow. It always reminds me of that Bush's Baked Beans commercial for some reason, where the dog says, "Roll that beautiful bean footage." I don't know. Anyway, all right. Cut it off. All right, made it. Now, don't get all crazy and pull this thing off yet, okay? First thing you gotta do is unwind your middle one, okay? And it's already gonna be in the center of your bow, okay? Right here. You're gonna pull it as tight as you can, and you're gonna push this one. You're gonna push the center. You're gonna take your bottom wire. You're going to tie them together, okay? And then you're going to push your bow in to make sure that it's tight, all right? You're going to give it a twist. It is important that your wires are tight, okay? Then you're going to unwind the bottom wire from the nail. It's already going to be in the center of your bow. You're going to take it up. You're going to pull those other wires down, okay? And you are going to take the top wire from your one up, one down. You're going to wrap those two together, okay? And then you're going to take the whole thing. You're going to give it another twist, all right? Then I like to pinch from the top and the bottom just because I want to make sure it's tight. Then the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the center peg out, okay? And I'm going to take all the other pegs. I'm going to pull this off and you'll be able to see, okay? I got the wire in, I got the ribbon. Looks like a hot mess, just like everything that comes off the Pro Bow. All right, then you got to get the fluffing block. Now you can do this a lot of ways. You can use this nail and put a peg in here, wrap it around. You can put something heavy on the wire. I have a bow block also from Pro Bow the Hand. I like it. I actually only use it with Pro Bow the Hand. When I use my Easy Bow Maker, I can fluff it right on there. I don't need to worry about it. But when I make a bow on the Pro Bow, I use the block. So let me go get that real fast, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is a fluff box. As I said before, you can use pretty much anything heavy. I really like this, but I also only use it when I'm making bows from the Pro Bow. I will say though that I really like to use it during Christmas time because I make a lot of tree toppers. It helps me fluff them. When I bought it, it was $15. That was several years ago. It really depends on how much you use your Pro Bow and what kind of bows you make, whether or not you're going to want to invest in one. I'll leave that choice up to you. So now you have this, okay? And it has these wires all over the bottom. So you're going to take 2 of those wires and you're going to wrap them around the hook in the middle, okay? And you're going to wrap them around the nail, all right? And you're going to flop it underneath. Then I like to take the other 2 and I like to wrap them around that hook, that nail as well. Just kind of keeps everything from flopping around. Okay, now there's a couple secrets to fluffing a bow. All right, the first is pulling and tugging. Don't be afraid. You tied it really tight during the first step. Okay, the second trick is twisting. When you do that, it breaks it free from any twists that are in the middle and it helps your loops stand up nice and tall. So the very first thing you're going to do is you always start from the bottom and work your way up, okay? Excuse me. So the very first thing you're going to do, let me move this so you can see. We're going to grab the bottom 2 loops here and you're going to pull them just like that. Now you can do pretty much whatever you want when it comes, and when I'm doing that, I'm twisting, I'm turning when it comes to the tails, okay? Because in this type of bow, you're gonna use the loops as another tail. See right here where it's got that twisting like this? It's gonna help get it out. I am gonna put my tails right here in the middle, but the important thing is that they are opposite each other, okay? That's gonna give you that nice look. Now here in the second one, I'm gonna take this tail and I'm gonna move it over to the side, right here next to this one. And then I'm gonna take this other tail and I'm gonna move it here. That's gonna help you have that nice opposite, okay? Then I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna move them in opposite directions, all right? But I want it to kind of frame this one, okay? Then I'm gonna take these 2, I'm gonna do the same thing, and I want it to kind of frame this one, all right? And you can already see my bow starting to form. I'm gonna twist it up towards the center. It's gonna help take that twist out, okay? And sometimes you're gonna have to move the loops multiple times. You're gonna have to keep going. It's all good. It's all good. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm actually going to leave that one right on top. I got a lot of tulip in this, but it's going to work out in the end. Okay. So we're going to move this tail here. I'm going to leave this one right in the middle here. Okay. Now, and on the Pro Bow, every time you do a peg, it's a 1/2 inch shorter. So you're going to be able to see everything once you're done. Okay. Can you see it starting to form there? All right. Oh. Okay. I want that right in the center. Then I'm going to take the yellow one, and on this one, I'm going to move it up and to the side. Okay. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to move it down to the side, and see how it's opposite the other one? It's exactly what we want, okay? Then I'm going to take these and I'm going to pull them apart. I'm going to take the same thing here. And again, you tied it really tight when you were doing this, so don't be afraid to pull it, okay? Now here I have this tail, and it's going to go, actually, you know what? Because I have that tail over there, I'm going to put this one right here, okay? And then this one is going to go right here. Bows and wreaths, all of that, are really about layers, right? So you just want to make sure that your layers are even, and that'll help you get a really nice bow. All right, then here I'm going to leave that there, and then finally my pink. Now I'm going to pull this one this way and this one this way. Oh, I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to pull this one this way and this one this way, because I want this one, I want this tail to lay opposite of this tail, okay? Because they're both solid color. And I just want them to lay a little bit opposite of each other. Down here it looks okay, but up there it did not. Weird. Okay. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to take these two, pull them, these two, pull them, and voila, it's a bow. And then just get all the parts fluffed out as best you can on here. Okay, get them how you like them. And then next, you can always adjust it on the wreath, but you can see how pulling it, getting your hand in there, moving the loops around really gives it a nice look on everything, okay? I do not dovetail my bows on the fluff box. I always do it on my wreath because I will randomly decide to change the length of the tails. So let's take this off. So I just undid it from the nail, and then I'm going to take the other one off the nail. The only thing I don't like about the fluff box is when I take it off, I always smush my bow a little bit, but it's wired ribbon. It'll come back. then you just slide it out of the eye hook. Okay, I have seen a lot of people who have handy husbands have their husband drill just a heavy block of wood. My husband is very handy, but he doesn't have a lot of extra time, so I just bought one. But if you have a handy husband, you can have him do it for cheap too. My husband has a whole bunch of scrap wood that this would work for. Just make sure it's really smooth, because I do have one that I attempted to make myself, and it's got a few rough edges, and it snags my ribbon all the time, so I don't use it. All right, so we're done with the fluff box. And now the wreath is back. Okay. So, got it right in the center so you can see. I usually rotate it just to see what I like and where it's gonna lean best. I think I like it right here. So I take it the way I had it on the fluff box, and I'm gonna do it this way so that the tulips are facing the right way. Okay, and I'm gonna take it right here. I'm gonna set it right in the middle. All right, then I'm gonna take my wire and I'm gonna poke it down here. And I'm gonna take the other set of wires, and I know this is an awkward angle. I'm just surveying the land, if you will. I'm gonna flip the wreath around. I'm gonna poke it down through here. Now, let me just tell you something. Make sure you wire the bow to the frame. Do not wire it to the pipe cleaners that you use. Do not wire it into the mesh. Wire it to the frame. It's very important. You will be really, really sad if you don't do that. Okay? Because your bow will not stay where you want it. Now, take your wire and now that you've poked it through, on these, I like to go right through to the top rung. And if my other wire is too short, I will just take the longest wire. I don't think it's going to be though. I'm gonna pull it over. I'm going to take this wire and it's always like a little bit of a dance to get it on here, you know? Okay, and then I just wrap it around the wire. Now, I wait until after I hang my ribbon or my wreath on the door to trim my wires off, because if I don't, invariably I will decide I won't like something and I won't be able to fix it because the wire will be too short. It's just personal preference. If you are confident, go ahead and clip your wires now. I am not that confident. Just gonna be honest about it. Just make sure you clip them all the way, because if you don't and you're it will either stab you or stab your customer's door. Okay, so now that we have it on, you can see probably from here that it's way too high. That happens. Pull it down, take the wire off. We're gonna have to redo it. Usually takes me a good 3 or 4 tries to get it right. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Okay. Now I'm going to take it, and again, as I said before, on a wreath like this, it's really important that it's centered, because if it is off center, you're gonna be able to tell. It's gonna be really obvious. On some other wreaths where the bow is not the centerpiece, it's not gonna matter. But when your bow is your centerpiece, you really wanna take the time to make sure it's centered, because if you don't, it's gonna be obvious right away. All right, and that's not something you want. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Pull it down. I will say though that one of the things that I like most about this style of wreath is that there's a lot, you can have a lot of interpretation. So like, just as an example, like maybe I think it looks good with the tails down, right? Well, maybe somebody buys it and they think, or they make their own, and they think it looks good with the tails on the side. All they have to do is flip it around. It changes the look of the wreath, and it's great for everybody's individual style. I like that. I like that it's versatile. I like that it can do that. Okay, I think that's good. And then once I get that other ribbon and mesh on, it'll be good to go, I think. Okay. It's a little bit hard to tell just because that mesh is not on there, but we have to work with what we have. Okay, so then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to wrap it around the crossbar, securing it to the frame. You don't want to pull it so tight that it sinks in, but you don't want it to be loosey-goosey either, as my son would say. And you definitely want some tension, because the tension is what's going to hold that bow. And then when I finally secure it, I am going to wrap it around the crossbars as well. Okay. Oh, it's still crooked, guys. Okay. We're going to have to undo it down here. told you, this part is just killer sometimes. Okay. There we go. All right, now let's try. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's try, I know, I always worry about the wrong thing. Like I should be worrying about getting the bow on here, and instead I'm worried about fluffing it. Okay. All right, now we're gonna take the other one. We're gonna wrap it right here because it's already secured. So everyone says bows are the problem. In my opinion, it's not the bow itself. It's not making the bow, it's attaching the bow. I don't know. I struggle with that, especially on these. I love them, but like, man alive, you can see right now that I am struggling to attach it symmetrically. Okay. See, and it's somehow I don't know where we're going wrong here, guys. Okay, this time I'm not gonna just do it loose, and then I'm gonna do the other one. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, finally got it. Okay. As I said, 3rd time's the charm. Right there in the center. Okay, let's just pretend the other 2 times didn't happen. Okay. Got it tucked in there. So then I'll just show you without the wires cut on the back. I've just attached it to the crossbar here. And up here, let me turn it. Here, it is attached to the bar. It looks like it's in the pipe cleaner, but it's not. And it's just enough tension to hold it once I get it all the way I want it. And I get that last piece of mesh in. I will fluff it up and get any holes or anything all patched up. Okay, so now we're gonna just do a little fluffing. I honestly think it looks pretty good. So now's the time to trim the tails. All right, so you're gonna do the same thing you did when you dovetailed the ribbon. I just fold whichever way is easiest for me. So let me turn. Okay, so fold the wired edges together and give it a snip, right? And then fold the wire edges together and give it a snip. Now, if there's any tails that are too long, you can go ahead and cut them now. And that'll give you a better idea of what you're looking for. The tails, I like a variety of lengths. I think it gives your project a lot of dimension. Some people aren't into that. That's cool too. It's all good. Okay. Give it a snip. Cut up that. Get everybody fluffy. Then you just want to, I almost forgot the one in the center. Sorry guys, I know I've mentioned this before. I think that the corner where we live, there's a traffic light there, and the traffic that waits there, you can hear their music, you can hear everything. It's not necessarily their fault. Just we can get a lot of background noise here is the point of that story. All right. And then the pink. Okay. And we are pretty much done. All right. So, I do want to give you guys, again, this is a custom order. The customer does not want any extra, she doesn't want anything in this wreath. She doesn't want, like, what am I trying to say here? She doesn't want a lot of florals or embellishments or anything. So I'm gonna do what she wants and not add any. However, I do want to give you guys a few quick ideas. So, since the ribbon has tulips on it, I do want to give you guys a few quick ideas for this, just embellishment wise. Since the ribbon has tulips on it, I think it would be really fun to add a few. I have these big tulips from Michael's that I think would look really pretty in there. You can't see that. I think, yeah. I have those big tulips from Michael's. I have little tulips that are also from Michael's. One of those would look really cute in the center of the bow, right there. I have pink as well, the little pink ones right in there. I also like to add greenery to mine. I have this greenery from Joann's, okay, and I think it looks fabulous in here. Right here, and I like to just cut off a piece just like this, just snip off a little branch, stick it right in there with the tulips. Okay, you can't see that, there we go. Or you just do the greenery itself, I like to really embellish my bows as well, so I might even put some in there. Again, that's not what the customer wants, so we're going to go ahead and leave this one as is. But that would be a great way to add some depth and some dimension to the wreath. Otherwise, we're all finished with this one, guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something. If you do like it, please subscribe to my channel just so that you know when I post a new video. I'll have some more content coming out soon. Check out my Facebook page, and I'll link my Etsy shop down below if you want to take a look at what I have. Have a great night. I'm going to go cook some dinner. See you later.